Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
Podcast also below in the description. Go subscribe to that as well.
We'll be streaming here live on draft night. Brought to you by wineaccess.com/ham. John, 20% off the best wines.
Yep. Wineaccess.com/ham. 20% off. Go do yourself a favor and place an order.
Somebody told me, somebody who knows people around the league, knows medical people around the league, somebody said to them, there could be some medical stuff that pops up during this draft that is a problem for people because they did not have the time ahead of time or the ability ahead of time, not really a time issue, to do, the physical type of investigations that you scouts like to do. And after the person told me that, I went back and watched John Lynch's press, something specific. I was like, wait, John Lynch said something about medicals. Let me go back and see exactly what he said. So Lynch was asked a question on Monday about just all the players they've done evaluations on. And the question was, what surprised you in this process of going through the top 5 guys? And what Lynch said was, are there challenges? He said a bunch of stuff. Then he said, are there challenges? Sure. I think a lot of it is the medical. Typically, we have a very centralized way of getting consistent medical opinions. This year, it was just a little tougher. Not to say it can't be done, so maybe a little incomplete on that. Probably the toughest thing. Any medicals they did on quarterbacks, I would imagine they did after the trade, right? They weren't doing a Trey Lance medical investigation.
Well, there weren't any medical information until that pseudo combine happened pretty recently. So there didn't exist.
So
beside this guy rolled an ankle, missed this game, this guy had a concussion, that basic stuff.
But the stuff that people are trying to hide. And I remember I had an NBA guy tell me a couple months ago that one of the challenges for players who go to the G League Ignite team, like the team that they can get drafted off of while they're getting paid, is that one of the this is a guy who was a head coach in the NBA. He said one of the big games around the draft is there are a lot of guys with medical red flags. And once you go to the G League Ignite team, the NBA teams are all going to have your medicals. So his thing was watch during the NBA draft. If a guy from the Ignite team falls in the draft below where people think, it's probably going to be because they have his medicals. You come out of college, you can hide your medicals from whoever you want to hide. You don't have to give anybody. Now, maybe
didn't the Zags just lose a guy from China? It was supposed to be an elite player to that team. I read the other day.
Oh, did
you
they
see that?
To the G League Ignite team?
Yeah.
Well, so again with this, this is just an added risk this year, and this goes back to what I said earlier about once stuff happens, we'll look back and say, were people telling us things? We'll see what the Niners do. We'll see if a quarterback falls that we didn't think was going to fall, if a player falls that we didn't think was going to fall. Because John Lynch just said the toughest part about this is the medicals. And, John, you've been in the draft rooms. How much do the medicals matter?
Well, a lot, but that is, to me, that's something that the doctors, it's really, I hate this term, but above everyone's pay grade. I mean, even the GMs and the coaches, they're not doctors. There's a reason when the trainer walks up to the coach, during a game, whispers in his ear, and he just shakes his head. Whether he agrees or disagrees, he has no fucking clue what that guy's saying. Hey, man, we think he tore his ACL. Coach is well, I don't think so. It's you wouldn't say that.
He doesn't have a concussion. Put him back in.
But I think one of the most famous stories in NFL history, right, and it turns out it was Danny Cannell's dad, was the Dolphins' lead doctor. And I think this happens all the time in medical situations. And we're learning this with the science over the last year. Not everyone's on the same page. That this is not, it's not black and white. It's not you either earn $10 or $20. You either scored 5 points or 10 points. It's, we think he's got a degenerate so-and-so. The other doctors, no, we think it's fine. And that is the thing that the coach, I've always defended would be the wrong word, but I understood where Balky was coming from when he always took his ACL guys. I would doubt, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, that the doctors always said they'll make a full recovery. Non-Lattimore, not him, but all the other ACL guys. And that turned out, just whatever reason, he drafted the 3 ACL guys that for whatever reason their ACL ended their careers. But what do you do as a head coach or general manager when the doctor goes, yeah, man, we see this thing in his heart. I wouldn't touch it. What are you supposed to say? Well, I don't care. I mean, because your owner's sitting there
you
can't draft this guy in the first round.
What you say is Doc. They all call him Doc. Doc,
yeah.
what are the chances this ends his career? And the doc will go, 76%. You're like, oh, so there's a 25% chance. We got value here, doc.
Wouldn't you
And the
imagine
doc will
any
say,
general?
that's up to you to take that risk.
Wouldn't you imagine? I wish more people would talk like that now. That the general managers have horror stories with doctors. I'm just saying, like they leave it kind of open ended. It's like, fuck, I don't know what to do.
Well, I mean, it's life. You go to the doctor, they're like, I think you'll be fine, but I think you might not. So we could operate or we could not. And you go, shit.
Yeah.
What
Is
do
this
I
a
do?
rash or a food allergy? Tell me now.
Yeah, or how about when you do the medical, you call them. You're like, hey, something's going on. They're like, well, you could be fine, or you could come in. And you're like, well, I guess I'll come in. That'll be $4,500, but I don't want to die, you know?
No, I pay the insurance company $1,500 every month, yet they cover nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, they send
I
you the
don't-
bill
I
at
just,
the end that says, well, it would have cost $18,000 if you didn't have us. You're like, okay.
Oh my God. Or it's like, this would have, but you ran out of all your premium or your deductible. It's like, I don't even know what these words mean. I just know I pay you
They're
every
banking
month,
on
and
that.
whenever I have an issue, you want more of my money.
That's right.
How does this add up?
Yep. Yep. But anyway,
Stop telling me about deductibles.
this is, I don't know if that's something. The point is, I don't know if that's something that John Lynch said or if it's nothing, but it's, as it relates to the third pick, it's something for everybody though. Right. Like
Well, there was something that came out on, for example, the Justin Fields story. Most human beings are going to read that and go, what do I make of this? I don't even know. Like, I'm not a doctor. Epilepsy, seizures, like, is that no big deal? Does he live with it fine? Like, and the way they wrote it, like, he'll be fine. Is that nothing? Is that a leak from a team that wants Justin Fields? Hope like teams freak out. I don't know.
the 49ers.
When I read that, I had no clue what to make of it. It's like, I don't know anyone with this. I've never been around it. Even if I read about it, I don't even know what it would say to me. Like, I would imagine most general managers or head coaches immediately ask their doctor, like, what does this mean?
Right.
Even let's assume they already knew that, or that got distributed to the teams. Like, what do I make of this? And maybe someone in the room's like, oh, my daughter has this, not that big a deal. Or the doctor's like, well, I've seen extreme cases and I've seen no. And then you just have all these. You could argue in football more than any other sport because of the prevalence of injuries, and most times, at minimum, a guy's going to have a nick or a bruise in college, right? It's going to be hard to be like, he never got touched. Like, even a little thing like a broken finger or just, missed a game for a missed spring ball for hamstring, whatever, that you just are going with kind of an instinctual, educated guess from your doctor, unless it's a true, like, no one's drafting him because he's got a degenerate knee. Remember Jay Ajayi had a knee that was like just really bad.
Yeah.
But I
Blair,
remember
in the NBA, he was the same deal.
no ACLs. I remember there being a guy when I got there that was having success. And I remember talking to someone on the staff. And they're like, yeah, we failed him. It's like, the guy just ran for 1,200 yards. It was a running back. He's like, yeah, I think half the league wouldn't touch him. What I wonder is the conversation. Like, yo, Doc, you told us we couldn't touch this guy. I loved him. And now he just
Doc's like,
especially
I
when
told you
play the
15%.
team.
But part of that is, well, am I going to get 2 good years out of him?
Yeah, a
Will
lot
it
of times they say they're not a second contract guy. That was Jay Ajayi's thing.
Yeah.
You wouldn't invest a higher pick on someone you didn't think had any chance to get a second contract, right? But you could justify it. Well, I'll just take it in the 4th round. If I get 4 good years, that's fine, right?
Yeah, depending on the value of where you drafted the guy, right?
Yeah, it's easier doing the 4th or 5th round than it is the second when it's a one contract guy. But you're like,
Right.
he's the best player I've ever seen.